All right, let's dive right into this explainer because today we're embarking on what is basically the ultimate high-stakes thought experiment. Imagine stepping outside tomorrow and the bustling, hyper-connected world you know has just vanished. What would you do? How would you survive? And honestly, more importantly, how would you help humanity start over?
Setting the scene for a totally collapsed society is pretty unsettling. In the haunting words of T.S. Eliot, "These fragments I have shored against my ruins." Just picture it. Deserted highways, suddenly silent cities, the absolute stillness of it all. We're really grounding ourselves here in a scenario where the intricate, noisy machinery of modern civilization has ground to an immediate, permanent halt. So here's the big question. The world has ended. Now what? I mean, once that initial shock wears off, you're faced with an entirely new reality. The centralized systems that deliver your food, pump your water, and power your lights, they're totally gone. It forces a deeply personal question. What would be your very first move in the immediate aftermath?
To answer that, we're turning to our source material for this explainer, a book called The Knowledge, How to Rebuild Civilization in the Aftermath of a Cataclysm by Lewis Dartnell. And look, think of this not just as a fascinating scientific breakdown, but as the ultimate quick start manual. It's a literal blueprint for restarting humanity from scratch, distilling centuries of scientific progress into actionable everyday steps.
But, to make this thought experiment actually work, we kind of need the right kind of apocalypse. Because if society descends into some Mad Max scenario of immediate resource depletion and barbarism, or if we end up in an I Am Legend situation as a doomed solitary survivor, humanity's long-term chances are basically zero. The ideal starting point for a technological reboot is actually a fast-acting pandemic. This leaves the physical infrastructure entirely intact, and it leaves a critical mass of about 10,000 survivors in a given area. That's enough hands to work the fields and enough genetic diversity to prevent us from sliding permanently back into the Stone Age.
So why do we desperately need a manual? Well, it all comes down to what we call the knowledge iceberg. Today, human knowledge is highly specialized and it's incredibly collective. Think about something as simple as a pencil. Because of the vast, unseen support network of mining, refining, and manufacturing, there is literally not a single person on Earth who knows how to make a pencil from scratch entirely on their own. Our survival skills have just atrophied. No single person knows how to rebuild modern technology, which makes a quick start guide absolutely essential.
Okay, moving to Section 1. Nature reclaims the Earth.
Let's walk through this timeline because the relentless, punishing forces of nature are going to act fast. That very first winter, freezing water will burst unheated pipes, flooding building interiors the second the thaw hits. Over the next 20 years, roots will crack asphalt, driven by the exact same freeze-thaw cycles that wear down mountain ranges. Within decades, unmanaged urban wildfires will gut our skyscrapers, leaving only charred skeletons behind. By the end of the first century, rainwater will seep into structural concrete, causing the internal steel rebars to rust and expand. It's basically a slow-motion explosion blowing the concrete apart from the inside out. Eventually, our magnificent skyscrapers will simply topple over. Seeing an actual tree growing straight up inside the ruins of a New Jersey library is wild. But this is exactly what our cities are going to look like within just a generation or two. Opportunistic weeds become saplings, which become dense thickets. The urban jungle will literally transform back into an actual forest, with crumbling buildings trailing vegetation like these massive vertical ecosystems.
All right, let's look at Section 2, Surviving the Grace Period.
I really want you to remember this phrase. The Garden of Eden is rotting. Because yes, you'll be surrounded by a bountiful, empty world, a total wealth of scavenged food, clothes, and fuel. But these resources inexorably decompose, deteriorate, and degrade. The grace period is not a permanent solution, folks. It is merely a countdown to the exact moment when humanity has to step up and begin producing its own necessities again.
Having said that, the sheer scale of our leftovers is genuinely astounding. To put it into perspective, the crucial number here is 55. If you found yourself alone in a single average-sized supermarket, relying on perishable goods first, then dried pasta, and finally those incredibly resilient rows of canned food, you could subsist purely on its contents for 55 years. Actually, scratch that. Make it 63 years if you're willing to eat the canned pet food too.
Which brings us to Section 3, your immediate survival checklist.
Okay, let's talk about the absolute most important thing, water. You can survive weeks without food, but literally only days without water. If you can't boil it, you must filter and disinfect it. Step 1 is simple enough.
punch holes in a bucket and layer homemade charcoal, sand, and gravel to filter out the murk. Step 2 is disinfection, and this is where it gets fascinating. Just a few drops of regular household bleach, the 5% sodium hypochlorite kind without any perfumes, will safely purify a whole liter of drinking water. Or if you happen to scavenge swimming pool chlorine from a local gym, a single teaspoon of that powder can disinfect 200 gallons of water. No way, right?
But what if you don't have those chemicals? Well, you use the sun. With the low-tech SOTIS method, you simply peel the labels off clear plastic bottles and lay them out in the sun. The UV rays and heat will pasteurize the water, completely deactivating the microorganisms in about 6 hours on a bright day. But, and this is absolutely crucial, you have to use the right plastic. You got to look at the bottom of the bottle for the number 1 recycling symbol. That indicates PET plastic, which actually allows the crucial UV rays to pass through, unlike glass or PVC.
Aside from securing water, your scavenging checklist should include some, let's say, unexpected survival goldmines, like super glue. Originally used in the Vietnam War, it's perfect for rapidly closing wounds if you don't have sterile sutures. And hey, don't just rate human pharmacies. Pet shop and aquarium antibiotics are exactly the same as human ones. Need a fire? Vaseline and hairspray make incredible fire accelerants, and a simple pair of eyeglasses can be used to magnify sunlight and ignite tinder on a bright day. Moving on to Section 4. Escaping the dead cities. Here's the harsh truth. Without the electrical grid, modern cities become uninhabitable death traps. I mean, think about it. Water mains lose pressure, meaning you'd have to schlep heavy buckets of water up dozens of flights of pitch-black stairs. Glass skyscrapers become impossible to heat or cool. And with zero sanitation, the decay poses a severe disease hazard. The smartest move is a massive exodus out of the cities. You want to head to older rural farmhouses that were actually designed to be heated by fireplaces and are surrounded by cultivable land.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, Powering the New World.
Because eventually, you're going to want electricity. And the good news? You can generate power using salvaged materials. There are over 1 billion vehicles on Earth right now, and sitting inside almost every single one of them is a perfectly engineered car alternator. If you spin the shaft, say by attaching it to a homemade windmill or a water wheel, it produces a steady 12 volts of direct current, regardless of how quickly it turns. You can also harvest permanent magnet motors from cordless drills or gym treadmills. Just forcibly spin those motors backward and boom, you've got yourself an electrical current. But generating power is only half the battle. You have to store that electricity, which means you need to pack your bags and head to the nearest golf course. Not for a relaxing round of 18 holes, obviously, but to raid the golf carts. See, normal car batteries are designed to give one massive short burst of energy to start an engine. If you slowly drain them for off-grid living, they break incredibly fast. What you need are deep cycle batteries, which can be completely drained and recharged repeatedly. You're going to find these absolute gold mines inside golf carts, motorized wheelchairs, and RVs.
Which brings us to the end of our thought experiment and leaves us with a pretty provocative question to ponder. Just look at everything around you right now. If the grid went down tomorrow, what crucial piece of the puzzle do you actually know how to build from scratch? This explainer shows us how fragile the scaffolding of our modern world truly is, but it also highlights the absolute incredible power of human ingenuity and structured scientific knowledge. Keep learning, keep questioning, and maybe, figure out how to make a pencil. Until next time.